Bring KC Joyner into the conversation here, breaking it all down. The Eagles lose. Casey, you can come up with probably a variety of ways or reasons why the Eagles lost last night. What is paramount on the top of your list for what can you highlight as to the reason Philly is 4-3 today?
I tell you, the thing that stands out about this game is Philadelphia. We talked about it last week, that the thing they want to do is get Dallas out of that mode where Dallas can lean on its running game and play its brand of football. Get Dallas to play a different brand of ball. Don't let them do what they want to do. And really, they were able to do that a lot during this game, actually, until the Dallas started throwing the ball a lot later in the game. They only had a good blocking rate of 33%. For that offensive line, 38 is about average in there, and that line was near 50 for the season. You've got them blocking at a 33% rate in the running game. You've got them down on the scoreboard. They're having to throw the football. You'd think that's exactly where you want them, and yet once they started doing that, they started to show, oh, yeah, the Eagles have a terrible secondary. They can't stop the passing game. So it was a catch-22. You got them right where you want them, and yet you put yourself in a bad situation because of it.
I thought early in the game, Dallas really controlled the pace of the game. They ran the ball. I mean, Elliott showed that he's a special player. Yet they couldn't pull away from Philadelphia. Philly ends up getting the lead at halftime. Philly had the lead at half, Casey, but didn't it feel like Dallas was dominating?
It did. When you look at the tape, that's a lot of times when I'm breaking down tapes, if you didn't know the score of the game, you could be breaking down the tape and go, wow, this team outplayed the other, and yet, of course, the score will show something completely different. And honestly, I mean, if you look at some of the tape, it looks like Dallas did some very good things and did outplay Philadelphia in some ways, but their running game, I know Elliott did very well, but Elliott was doing well in spite of not getting good blocking, which is atypical for Dallas. And all that, Dak Prescott had a couple of bad decisions. He came into the game with one for the whole season. A bad decision is when a quarterback makes a mental error that leads to a turnover opportunity for the opposing team, and he was forcing passes in the coverage, so Philly was making him make mistakes. Dallas's running game was doing okay in spite of not getting good blocking, but that's still a good thing if you're holding their good blocking rate down. So they're doing a lot of things well. I think the one thing that Philadelphia should have done is throw more vertical passes. First half of the game, Wentz only throws 3 vertical passes in the first half, 8 for the whole game. 3 in the first half, and that's against the Dallas defense that has some secondary issues as far as their players go.
What would be considered a vertical pass? Because a lot of people, Doug was asked about it today. He basically said he only took one shot down the field, and that was the throw with Josh Huff, where he throws it out to Huff, and then Huff threw the ball. It seemed that, they don't trust Wentz to throw the ball. Is it they don't trust Wentz to throw the ball, or they don't trust their wide receivers to be able to get down the field?
I think it's a matter of both. Yeah, they only threw 7 vertical passes the whole game, only gained 6.9 yards per attempt. I mean, you've got to be in double digits to be even average in that category. Dallas, by contrast, Prescott and they had Beasley throw one too. They have 14 vertical passes, 11.9 yards. So I mean, you're getting about half of the production at Dallas. And Dallas is throwing a lot more vertical passes. And I think a big part of it is they don't trust Wentz. They don't think that he can make those downfield throws. They're afraid he's going to make mistakes. And the problem is that if you don't let the guy take the chances, he can't hit the big plays. Yeah, you avoid the mistakes, but he doesn't hit the big plays. And Philadelphia, one more big play last night in a vertical game probably wins the game for him.
He was asked today, he said, the reporter asked Pederson, Casey, you guys have one play of 30 yards in the last 4 games now, over 230 snaps. Can you win without doing anything down the field? Can you win consistently in this league? And he pointed to, hey, we went 9-0 in Kansas City. We didn't do it, so I've seen it done. So, one play of 30 yards in 230 snaps. Can a team win like that?
Not usually. Again, it's percentage football, and you can, if you're playing really well on defense, yeah, you can do it. And the Eagles have been playing well enough on defense, but when you've got the kind of secondary that Philadelphia has, yeah, they play percentage football, and they got them lead in the game, and it looked like things are going well. But then, okay, now the other team is going to start not playing percentage football, and it's going to start going for big plays. And when you've got the kind of secondary Philadelphia has, and Dallas starts hitting some of those big plays, and their running game started to get better as the game progressed, when you put those two factors together, now you're trying to that dink and dunk versus a team that's hitting big passes. No, you won't win that at all. If you've got this kind of secondary, unless they can protect the secondary better, if I'm Philadelphia, and that may be part of the reason why, by the way, that they don't go more vertical passing, too. They don't try and go to more of an all-out situation like that, because if they put the secondary in situations where it's getting into shootout games, Philadelphia could do even worse than it's doing right now.
Well, another issue is you got guys dropping passes all over the place. Aguilar drops. You got Matthews drop. Green Beckham had a drop. I think they had 6 drops in all last night. Even when you throw the ball to the guys, they're not making plays, and I guess that makes things even more difficult in execution when you do execute and your guy doesn't make the play.
Yeah, if you're trying to play high percentage and you're not catching passes, that's a very, very bad situation. But you can get the same problem if you're dinking and dunking it. You're not going to do that much better. Here's the odd thing, and one of the odd situations about Philadelphia, why I wonder why they don't throw the ball vertical more often. Carson Wentz, ESPN has a metric called total QBR. It's a way of measuring quarterback production on all plays. But if you look at how Wentz did on vertical passes for the season, and vertical pass, by the way, it's 11 or more yards downfield. So it's not just the go routes and the post routes and the corners. Those are what I call stretch vertical plays. Verticals are when you're throwing 12-yard curl, some kind of a deep out. You're stretching a defense to a certain extent. But Carson Wentz ranks 15th in the league in vertical total QBR, tied for 15th. It's not bad. It's a middle range number. It's not a great number. Dak Prescott is 5th in the league, so he's better at it. But really, Wentz is at an 87.7 rate. To put that in perspective, it's on a 0 to 100 scale, so he's still near the top. He's near the top 10% in production on vertical passes. If you look at historically where he would rank, so if your quarterback is doing that well in vertical passes, maybe you have him throw more than 6 in a game. I mean, that 6 in a game is just a terrible number. You'd be at the bottom of the league. Alex Smith threw more than that a couple of years ago and what the seasons Pederson's talking about.
Very frustrating. There's a lot of coaching points in this game as well. I mean, the play where it's they go backwards to Sproles and they end up punting instead of kicking a field goal there. You remember which one I'm talking about? When they kind of throw the screen pass to Sproles, he loses 6 yards. Now, earlier in the game, Sturgis hit a 55 or hit it twice, and this one would have been, about a 53-yard, and they elect to punt instead. Yeah,
it does not make sense. It's those questionable kinds of play calls, too. And, again, it's a reliance so heavily on – we talk about they need to do more of the screen passes, and they were doing more of the screen passes, but – it wasn't working very well for them last night. And again, the Dallas secondary, the thing is Dallas is in the same situation that Philadelphia is in some ways, in that they want to protect their secondary. So I get that Philadelphia is saying, look, we don't want to get in the shooter because our secondary is not that good. But when you've got a team down like that, you're dinking and dunking. I'd rather have seen Wentz try, instead of that little pass you were talking about, he lost 6 yards, you try one vertical pass. Even if you overthrow the receiver and you tell Wentz, look, if he's wide open,
right,
you hit him, but if not, just overthrow it. Fine, but take a vertical pass. Make Dallas believe they're going to do it, because if you just keep throwing these dink and dunk passes all day, all the defense is going to do eventually is just sit down them, and that's what the Dallas is doing. You've got to at least threaten the defense with a vertical pass. You don't throw 6, the team's not going to sit their safeties back at all.
Hey, you mentioned something earlier, Casey, about the defense, and, they kind of took the run game away from Dallas. They took Beasley out of the game, too, and then late in the game, they went back to the run game. They went to Beasley, and things changed a lot. But what were the Eagles able to do to kind of take that out?
It was a matter of, again, winning the point of attack blocks, because we talked last week about there's a couple ways you can do it. That's the thing about the Dallas and Ezekiel Elliott. As good as he is, his value is that he can give you the same type of production on carry 1 as he can, and carry 300 as he can on carry 1. He's just as good at the end of a game as he is early on. He's a volume back, though. He wears you down, and that's what he does. He's not a guy who you can, he's going to get, like Todd Gurley when he's in his prime, or when he does well, where it's a 3-yard gain, 2-yard gain, 5-yard gain, 70-yard gain. Well, that you have to worry about that kind of back. That's not what Elliott is. Elliott is, I can get 12 yards per gain or 8 yards per gain. I can keep getting these things all game long and be very consistent. But Eagles kept him down to a reasonable pace in that metric. Again, until it got late in the game and the Cowboys started to spread things out and playing a different type of offense and the game flow changed, the Eagles only gave up a 33% good block rate. That's an exceptional rate. Now, they give up 12.3 yards per carry when the Cowboys got good blocking. That's not a good number. But if you're only giving up at that time, it was only 6 running plays of that nature. If you're only giving up 6, you can deal with that.
So you think the difference ultimately in the game is the Eagles' secondary not up to the task?
not up to the task, and you got to be able to finish the game off. That you can't give Dallas that chance to go after your secondary. When you get up by enough of a score, you need to say, okay, we're not just going to try and win by, we're not just going to hold out like this. I got the feeling at the end of the game that Philadelphia was just trying to hold on to the lead because it's like, guys, you got to go trust your quarterback to make one more big play because eventually Dallas is going to go after this defense. And Dak Prescott, by the way, in that total QBR metric, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league in total QBR, in every category. So I mean, he's the real deal. You don't want to put you think, we want to take the ball out of Elliott's hands and put it in Prescott's hands. No, you don't. You want to take the game completely away from Dallas. Don't let Prescott beat you.
Yeah, Prescott, he missed a couple throws. He had the interception in the end zone. But to me, if you flip the quarterbacks, it's a big difference. I mean, Wentz playing with that weapons, that helps Prescott out a lot. I mean, offensively, Dallas is far superior talent-wise than Philadelphia. That's evident, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, we were talking earlier about, Pederson saying, we did this a couple years ago, we did this type of dink and dunk. I'm thinking, okay, Carson Wentz in the first 4 games of the season, he showed the kind of performance that was, hey, this guy could be a really special quarterback. And now if you're Pederson, you're saying, what, you think he's Alex Smith? You think that's what he is? You think he's just that guy? That's all he is? And Alex Smith, by the way, early in his career, had some fantastic vertical pass numbers, and people just finally got in their head that he can't beat that. It's like, don't imprint what Alex Smith was onto Carson Wentz. Wentz is a different quarterback, and he can be as good of a vertical passer as Alex Smith was earlier in his career, and I think he could be even better. But if you start thinking we need to protect ourselves from Carson Wentz, and he hasn't even made a lot of downfield mistakes. It's not like Wentz has been making a bunch of errors. Yeah, he's getting a little nervous and things, fine. Then calm him down early in the game, but don't just take the whole game plan away from him because you don't think he's going to be able to take downfield throws. If you tell the quarterback, I don't think he can throw downfield, eventually he's going to believe you.
Hey, I know a couple of weeks ago we talked about Wendell Smallwood. Now, he fumbled in the game. His only carry, they give him to start the fourth quarter. He fumbles that ball, and that really changes the game right there because obviously it lets Dallas kind of get some life and get back into the game. But do you think that Philly is utilizing his skill sets the right way?
No, I think you've got another Sproles, and that's part of the problem, though. So you've got Sproles, and Sproles can do what he does, and Smallwood is a space guy, I think, and that you want to get him into those situations, spread the defense out and let him run through there. But you've got Sproles out there. But if you've got that kind of a back and you've got those kind of breakaway backs, you'd like to get more situations to them. So I think maybe they should rotate Sproles and Smallwood in and out of the game. But when Sproles is playing as well as he's been playing, it's hard to say to justify that situation. So maybe it's a matter of just get 2 players with the same skill set.
This offense, a lot of talk about the Eagles looking at wideouts. Doug shot it down again today. They asked him, do you think wide receiver drops are a problem? He says anytime you have drops, that's a problem. He was asked about whether or not they're looking to trade. He said not at this time. But, Torrey Smith's name's been brought up. Alshon Jeffrey's a bigger name. But they got to get a better receiver and to help Wentz out, too. I mean, is this stunning his development a little bit that he has nobody that can help him out?
Torrey Smith last year finished 5th among wide receivers in vertical yards per attempt. 5th. Now, he was great in Baltimore, and everybody knew who he was, and in San Francisco, he kind of just disappeared. I don't know what the 49ers asking price is for him or if he's even on the block. You hear rumors that he is, but if he's on the block and he was there for a reasonable price, and I think he's still got a couple, 3 years left in him. If he was on there for a reasonable price, you could make that justification. But I think the Eagles probably look at Smith as being an older receiver and saying, "Look, we're not going to trade some of our future to get some production today." But if they got Torrey Smith and they could integrate him into the offense for the second half run, Torrey Smith could be a difference maker if they would allow Wentz to throw vertical passes.
There were so many things in this game last night. I opened up the show today, Casey, by saying you could write down reasons on a piece of paper, throw them in a hat, and just start pulling them out. And you can say, yeah, they lost the game because there was just so many reasons why. But that being said, they didn't take shots down the field. Sloppy, bad play calling, poorly coached last night, and yet they still, realistically, I guess you could say, should have won that game. They had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter with all of those things. So what do you take from Philadelphia moving forward?
They've got to find a way to, they've got a formula that can, if you can get a formula that can go to Dallas and you're winning in the fourth quarter, it's a good formula, but you've got to get more for formula. You've got to get a bigger, Dallas goes pass first mode. That pass rush we saw against Minnesota, where was that? I mean, Dallas is going pass first mode. You ought to be getting more of a pass rush. Dallas is going to go in the passing game like that in the fourth quarter and things, you need to be able to go. If they're going to go for the big plays like that, they've got some personal weaknesses in the secondary. Go get one big play back. I think Philadelphia needs to figure that we can't be so conservative when we get this kind of lead and things, and hopefully clock runs out. You better make one more big play. I think that needs to be their takeaway, that we've got to find a way to get even just a couple more big plays. The rest of the formula is workable. We've got to find a way to get one or two more big plays, or else this is going to keep happening.
So, in the end, Pederson too conservative last night?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's getting to the point where he's trying to make sure that Wentz, and the thing is, Wentz wasn't making a bunch of errors. Let him make a couple of errors. If that's what it comes down to. You cannot seed the passing game and say we're just going to give that up because we're afraid that you're going to make some mistakes. You have to let your quarterback find the balance between making big plays and making mistakes. And right now they're saying we're not getting big mistakes, but we're not getting big plays either. You've got to increase one at the risk of increasing the other.
All right, the Eagles lose 29-23. And by the way, we didn't mention the return of Des Bryant. I thought he was a huge difference in the game.
He was, and again, and he was. It looked like they were doing better than they did early in the season, because early in the season, he and Prescott were not. They just weren't in sync. I don't want to say they were on the same page, but he had only been throwing 5 stretch vertical passes by the time he got hurt. And last night it looked like that. If that's the starting point of where he's going to be from here on out, and where how in sync they are, it's going to improve from there. That's dangerous for the rest of the league.
Yeah, Prescott, some scrambling ability that was on display. Didn't have a great game statistically too, but you could see his skill set makes them difficult. And I think you talked about this the other day. Is Elliott makes Prescott that much more dangerous, because you can run, and then Elliott can run too. They can get him moving with that line. That's a tough defense. That's a tough offense to defend right now. So if they're going to move back to Romo, it'll be very interesting to see what happens here. But I guess Prescott for another week. Yeah,
and the thing is, you talk about Romo. Hey, look, Des Bryant. Just looking up numbers here: 8 vertical targets, not overall targets. 8 vertical targets, 4 completions, or 4 receptions for 113 yards and a touchdown. Tony Romo's not going to improve on that. So Prescott's doing that well with Bryant. No, that's just another reason to say, hey, Romo needs to be the relief pitcher to Prescott's starting pitcher.
All right, KC Joyner, everybody. We'll preview Eagles and Giants on Thursday's show with KC Joyner right here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Thanks, pal.
Thanks, man.